Let's start with a prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvi Avaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So for today we'll do a short mananam and meditation. So as we generally do, before we start the prayer, before we start the meditation, let's take a few deep breaths just to regulate the body and mind through the pranayama. And exhale. You can do a deep inhalation, exhalation, or an alternate nostril breathing. Then with one last deep inhalation and a forceful exhalation, relax the body. So as we start our practice, we try to bring to our mind the image of either some masters or some divine being, some gurus, some masters, or some divine being whom we feel that reverence and respect towards. So we'll try to feel that presence of some exalted beings, masters, awakened ones in our hearts, what we call as that essence of the Guru Tattva. Try to feel that essence in our heart. First start with some image, but then slowly we try to realize that the essence of all those masters, all those teachers, is that essence which is right within us. So we try to bring that our reverence to that sense of inner Guru, moving from that physical kind of a essence of a Guru to that essence within us. So with that kind of a inner attunement to that divine forces, the divine beings within us, making that inner connection to that divinity within us, you can now just for a few minutes focus on either just some mantra or some image that we feel most connected to. So if not, just to focus on that Om, the word Om, And just try to mentally feel that in your heart. You can visualize that essence of Om as a light in our heart. And just for a few seconds, few minutes, keep bringing your mind to that or some mantra which you connect with. And as we now try to move from slowly bringing our attention using this word Om, we try to first bring our attention away from the senses, from all those objects that our ears, eyes, mouth are all naturally seeking out towards. We bring that to that center of attention as our mind itself. Slowly we realize that the control I have is at the mind. Withdrawing that attention from all outwardly worldly objects to that inner instrument which directs all the senses. And as we go deeper, we realize that the operating of the mind is controlled by the intellect. Every moment we have a choice whether to direct that mind outward or inward, and this choice is made by the intellect. So gradually from that naturally outward moving mind through the senses, we withdraw the attention back from the senses to the mind, and from the mind to that decision-making faculty of the intellect. So every moment we have a choice whether to go outward or to remain within. And as we do this, we realize that all our ability to function is all controlled from within this essence of intellect. The shloka in the Gita says this hierarchy: Indriyani paranyahur, Indriyebhyah param manaha, Manasastu para buddhir, yo buddhei paratastu saha. The senses are superior to the body, but senses are controlled by the mind. And the mind's functioning is dependent on the decision-making ability of the intellect. So this mental activity, whether of the mind or the intellect, it's that internal inner instrument in us. And through meditation, we first learn to direct that outward going energy to being stabilized in the mind and intellect. And for this we use some support such as some mantra, some image, or just simply something such as Om, bringing our attention to that. As many times as the mind goes outward through the senses, we realize that that control, that decision is dependent on us. We can decide to allow the mind to go out through the senses, or we can decide to keep it centered within ourselves. And as we do that, we realize that slowly that support we use, even of mantra, visual image, word, can also be gently dropped as we learn to abide in the self. As the mantra goes, Yo buddhe paratastu saha, you, the self, the consciousness, are superior even to that mind and intellect. You are the essence based on which all these operate. So we slowly learn that we can just abide in that self, abide in our own being. We are so used to thinking that unless the mind is thinking or the mind is consciously interacting through the senses, unless that is happening, we don't exist. But that's not the truth. We existed in our sleep. We were as much alive. Similarly, that essence of our being exists all the time, in waking, dreaming, and sleep. So through the mind that goes out, we think of this world and objects. And through that mind and intellect, we can learn to rest within ourself itself. Just being, remaining in that being without even having to think, without even having to consciously do something or interact through the senses. This is the highest meditation and the easiest meditation because we are always there. Just need to bring our attention to ourselves. In every sensation, in every thought, in every decision, I exist. The essence of myself is always there. And it is the first and it is the purest. Everything else follows that. Bringing our attention again and again back to the essence of ourself, to the consciousness. This is the easiest and the most natural meditation, where we realize that the complete essence of my being is always there. All the Upanishads tell us that this essence of self, this consciousness, is the same as that one supreme consciousness. There is absolutely no difference between them. So if we can learn to abide in the true nature of our being, then we are abiding in the highest reality, that one essence of all creation. Our natural thinking is that the mind needs to be engaged in some activity. I need to keep thinking. I need to keep doing all this. Otherwise, I don't exist. This is the wrong notion that we live our whole life with. The essence of all that mind's thinking, the root of all that, we ignore that, and the mind gets diverted, directed through the senses and body and engaged constantly in activities. And only in sleep we rest that mind, and we rest in just that being. However, that sleep state is an unconscious process. But it's the process through which we realize that we do exist even without the mind. So we don't need the mind really to exist. The essence of our existence is not dependent on us constantly thinking, constantly working with the senses. And this simplicity is the essence of our everyday meditation, bringing our attention back again and again to the essence of our being, without having to engage in thinking, doing, and all those activities. And as we learn to abide formally every day in this process, we learn that even when we are active, engaged in the world, we can always be resting in the essence of our being. So this unbroken abiding in ourselves, this essence of our being, we keep coming back and resting in that. That is when we learn to really live, be in that true being. This is what all our Upanishads teach us. That we can be awake in the highest sense, in all the states of sleep, dream, and waking. The true being awake, being conscious, is learning to rest or be in the self. Now for this last few minutes, we can bring our attention back to our heart center. And invoke the presence of all the divine beings, the gurus, the awakened ones, and most importantly, any guru or anything we most connect with, feel that their presence right in our hearts, guiding us, beckoning us back to our true home again and again. There we can rest in the sense of gratitude, the sense of attunement, reverence to all the teachings, to all the pointers that we keep getting from them. And through their blessings, we can make an intention, a sankalpa, to continue all through this year with that determination, with that inner resolution to abide in ourselves, to bring our attention again and again to the essence of our being, to that consciousness, and to move towards greater awareness and living in our true state, in our true nature. Because when we realize our true nature, when we learn to abide in that, that is when we are truly happy. All happiness is coming from this essential inner happiness of our being. Once we realize this, then we learn to easily rest in that self, in that consciousness. The outward seeking, the outward dependence ceases only when we realize that inner essential nature of our being. So let us take an intention to practice this in such a way that not as a active practicing of some technique, but just recognizing that is all this practice, just recognizing that essence of our being again and again. Train that outward going mind to come back home, to come back within. So with that, we will say a closing prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.